You're watching Gearz, brought to you by LMC Truck.
You know, with the economy the way it is, people are looking for more and more ways to make older vehicles last longer. But for a gearhead, you don't want it just to last longer. No, you want it to go faster, you want it to perform better, you want it to get better mileage, you want it to look good, and you still want it to be reasonably affordable. Now, some people would say, that's impossible to do all that stuff. Well, they would be wrong. And the proof is in these piles of junk that's laying here. This is what's left over from some very selective surgery on a '73 Chevy pickup called the Knucklebuster. The Knucklebuster is unique because it not only represents an '80s era vehicle, which is cheap and easy to find, but it also gives us a chance to show you how to methodically go through a project, take care of all the major problem areas that are going to happen on almost any project without doing a complete frame-off restoration. For example, the first show we dealt with the suspension, brakes, wheels and tires, and getting the stance right. The next show was about dropping in a new engine and drivetrain and all that's involved with that. Oh, like butter. That's awesome, man. We're going in. Today, we're going to dive into another major area that always seems to need some help, and it's right where you live, the interior. Now, keep in mind that this truck belongs to a family that has some young kids, and they want to be able to carry them around comfortably and safely. So, as you can see, we've got some work to do in here. The good news is, out of all the things that we've done to this vehicle so far, revamping the interior is the easiest one to do. Something that you can probably do in a weekend. So, let's get to work. The first thing to do is get everything out of the way. Seats, carpet, everything. All right, the big question is, what are we going to find behind this seat? Remember, the last time it was worked on was the late '80s. So what do you think's behind there? There they are, speakers blowing right into the back of the seat. Obviously, all of this stuff needs to go too. You didn't hear that. Now this is very typical of what you'll find in an older vehicle. And notice somebody's put some new carpet in here at one time, but they also used just a bunch of cheap foam as a sound deadener, as well as tried to reuse all this old nasty stuff. So we're gonna get rid of all this because there's a better way to do this. Okay, if you're doing a project like this and you want it to come out like that, well, obviously, you're gonna need some new parts. And for a truck like this, that's as simple as going to LMC Truck and ordering what you need. Now, the first thing that's gonna go on that floor is this sound deadener. Now, this is a heavy-duty asphalt-based material, just like the original, and it's gonna hold sound down. Then we have this heat shield that's gonna keep heat and sound from the drivetrain from getting into the cab. And then, of course, we got brand new carpet. Now, if you haven't decided what color your interior and your vehicle's gonna be, now is the time to do it. But we're not just doing carpet here. No, we also got a new tilt steering column, a stereo system, air conditioning vents, gauges, bezel, seat belts, door panels. We've got everything we're gonna need to make that truck better than it was new. Now, if your floors are solid, all you have to do is set the sound deadener in place and mold it in. Now, we were really lucky on this project because these floors were just solid as a rock. Of course, it spent most of its life inside a garage. Now, if you've got rust in your floors, you gotta cut it out and you gotta weld in new metal. But if you just have surface rust like this, you don't have to cut that out. That's good and strong. All you have to do is hit that with something like this Bill Hirsch Miracle Paint. Now what this does is seal up that metal, doesn't let any moisture or any air get to it, and stops the rust. Now once you got your floor all covered and treated, got your sound deadener on, now you're ready for your heat shield. This just lays in and is held in place by the supplied tape. Finally, in goes the carpet, and that's just a matter of fitting it around the door sills and the transmission hump and smoothing the wrinkles out. Okay, now that we have this floor mess taken care of, we are going to turn our attention to another mess in here, and that is the dash. Now, as is typical on an older vehicle like this, especially a truck, this started out life as a standard shift on the column. Then it was converted to an automatic on the floor, but you still got the standard shift column, and you got a whole mess going here. So we're not only going to get rid of the column, we're going to get rid of the old gauges, the dash, basically strip this whole thing out and start over. All right, with all this old wiring out of the way, let me talk to you about the wisest investment you're going to make on your project, a new wiring harness. Now, a lot of people don't realize that over time, your wiring can get brittle, that means it can crack, and that means it's susceptible to setting your vehicle on fire. That's why you see a lot of classic vehicles burning up on the side of the road. They didn't replace a wiring harness. Now, this harness comes from Painless Performance, and it's a direct replacement to what was in that truck. Now, check this out. You got your fuse block that goes right to the firewall like the original. Then these wires here are for everything in the cab. Air conditioning, heater, dash, lights, stereo, everything you want to put on that vehicle, it's already wired up, ready to go. Now, this harness here is your under hood harness. Plugs in at the firewall just like the original. And then this is for your motor, headlights, tail lights, everything that's outside the cab. Now, I know some of you guys are looking at this going, you make it sound easy, but that is a lot of wiring. I can't do that. Let me show you something that Painless has been doing for a long time. If you notice, about every 5 inches, the wires actually have printed on them where they go. So that makes this pretty much just a plug-and-play deal. Hey, we're back, and we are working on the Knucklebuster project, where today we're dealing with the one thing that every gearhead is going to eventually have to deal with if you're into cars and trucks, and that is refurbishing an interior, because this is where you spend all your time and spill your coffee and your drinks and hide all your messes. And if you are doing a restoration, well, you're not only going to find all these messes, but you're also going to learn a lot about the vehicle's prior life and its prior owners. It's kind of like automotive archaeology. All right, we've got our sound deadener and carpet in place. We've gutted the dash and painted everywhere that you're going to see it. I mean, you didn't think we were going to keep that old nasty teal color, did you? No, we're doing hot rod black on the outside and red and black on the interior. All right, time to start putting the dash back together, starting with the wiring harness. Now, this may look intimidating at first, but you're going to find that Painless has everything well marked, so it's just a matter of plugging it in and routing your wires. Next, we'll pull out the old junky gauges that don't work anymore and replace them with the new ones from LMC Truck. The crowning touch to any restoration project is the dash. Now, as you can see, This is not just one of those phony, cheap little covers. No, this is a full padded dash. It's going to go right in place of that junk we took off. Here we go. Yeah, nice. We'll follow that up with the bezel and the vents and the trim. Then we'll stick in the new stereo and hook up all the wiring. Yeah, looking pretty good in here, but we are not done yet. No, the next thing to go in this dash is this new steering column. Now, since this is designed to fit right in this body style of truck, it's gonna bolt right in and it's gonna hook right up to that new wiring harness. Man, you gotta love that. All right, slide it in. Now, we're gonna top off that steering column with this Dagger wheel from Billet Specialties. Now, if you think that Dagger name sounds familiar, well, you're right, because it matches the Dagger wheels on the truck. Take a look at this. You got the same design in the spokes on the steering wheel as you do on the wheels on the truck. That is cool, but that's not all. We also have a leather half wrap on the steering wheel, plus this smooth billet adapter that flows right into the horn button. This is going to look incredible on that polished column. Come on. Hey, we're back. And today's project is a complete revamp of what was once an old, worn-out, beat-up interior. Very similar to what you'd see on something that's 10 years old or more. But we didn't just throw on a bunch of high-dollar stuff, no. This is a nice blend of some original replacement parts and some custom stuff to basically give us a brand new interior that has some modern conveniences and upgrades, but it's still affordable. Check it out. As you can see, the interior still has a stock look to it because that's just cool. Except now, it's all brand new, just like it was in '73. Except, we did upgrade the steering column with a modern tilt system. We have a new stereo in it and a new speaker up in the dash. Let me tell you, a single speaker is not gonna get it on this project. So we're gonna expound on that with these new kick panels with speakers built right in. And if you look up, we have a new headliner panel with 4 speakers blowing right down on your head. So no more speakers behind the seat, no more problems hearing the music. The best part is, all of these panels are available from LMC Truck. They slide right in place of the originals. All you have to do is hook them up. Now, for door panels, you got a couple of choices here. Once you have the door painted the way you want it, take your new door panel and just slide it in place of the original, like that, and it's just held in place with these screws. Now, if that's the look that you like, you can stop right there. But if you want a little more plush looking, or if somebody has cut some big holes down here for some speakers, yeah, you know who you are, that is what this panel is for. Now, it just sits in place and is held on with these screws. At this point, there's really only one thing left to do on the interior, but it's a big one, the seat. Now, remember, this truck is owned by a family that has small children, so obviously they want as much usable space as they can get, and a bench seat will do that for you. Come on, take a look. Now, you can buy brand new aftermarket seats and just bolt them into the vehicle, but the best bang for your buck on a project like this is to reupholster your stock seats. Now, I know some of you are looking at this going, oh man, I don't know anything about upholstery work. Well, now is the perfect time to learn, and you're going to be surprised how easy it is. The first thing you'll need to do is disassemble the seat back from the seat bottom, and then remove the hog rings and pull off the old upholstery. Now, if your seat cushions are worn out, now is the time to replace them, because your new upholstery will never fit right if your seat cushions are all broken down and worn out like these are. Look at this. We're right on the metal there. And then years ago, somebody tried to put a bunch of filler material to try to fill in this indentation. So we're gonna get rid of all this junk. And these pads just lift off of the seat frame, go to the junk pile, and then the new piece just lays right on the seat frame. Once the pads are in place, make sure the upholstery is nice and warm, and then turn it inside out and just slip the upholstery down over the cushion, unrolling it as you go. Now make sure you take your time here, because you can rip the upholstery if you try to go too fast and force it. Now it's just a matter of pulling the upholstery tight as you continually work out the wrinkles. Then, using the supplied hog rings, attach both sides of the upholstery under the seat. Once you have both sections upholstered, all you have to do is reassemble the seat, and she's ready to go back in. Right there. Oh yeah. Now, the moment of truth. For those of you who thought you didn't have the time, the ability, or the money to redo the interior of your project, check it out. It's comfortable, usable, affordable, and it looks good. And this is something that you can really do yourself over the weekend. So now you have no excuse to ride around in this when you could be riding around in that. Now, there is one part that still needs to go back on, and that, of course, is the hood. We pulled that off because it's a lot easier to hook up a new wiring harness if you got the hood out of the way. However, we are not going to put this original style hood back on. No, we got something a lot cooler than this. Check it out. This is LMC's all-steel cowl induction hood. And they make these things for just about any truck you can imagine. So you're good to go no matter what you're driving. Now, not only is it steel, but it's got a functional cowl induction scoop built right in. And then the backside is completely finished out with a steel inner panel just like the original hood. But the best thing about these hoods is how easy they are to put on. All you have to do is transfer the latching hardware from the original hood and bolt this sucker on. And that finishes up the third installment of the Knucklebuster project, which was designed to show you how to take a project, break it down into major steps, and then deal with those major steps one at a time so you don't get discouraged and burned out and tired of your project and give up on it. Now, this pile here is what we had left over when we did our chassis and suspension upgrades. This pile is what we had left over when we did our engine and drivetrain swap. Then, of course, this pile is what's left over from a lot of nasty interior. Now, I know this is a lot of work, but it's the kind of work that every one of you out there can do without a whole bunch of special tools. And you're gonna find that if you utilize the aftermarket, buy the right parts, and do the work yourself, and you gotta do the work yourself, you're gonna end up with basically a brand new vehicle at a fraction of what it would cost you to go down and buy a new vehicle. And with today's economy, that is a smart thing to do. Now, obviously, it's not completely done yet. We've done 3 major areas. There's one major area left to do, and that is the paint and body work. And we're gonna do that, but in a week or 2. I'm ready to work on something else.
And now, what are you working on?
Today's What Are You Working On comes from Greg Marsh from Knoxville, Tennessee. And Greg, like most of us, always wanted a Cobra. But like most of us, he couldn't afford one. So he knew the only way to get one was to build one himself. So that's what he did. He got a kit from Factory 5. Here is a shot of it showing up on the trailer. And then he decided to put the car together to look vintage, but have some modern conveniences like air conditioning, power steering, power brakes, heater at the top, things like that. Now, Greg says that the mechanical part of this build took 1.5 years to get it to the go-kart stage. This is the go-kart stage. It's basically just a rolling chassis. Not street legal, but that didn't mean Greg didn't drive it on the street. Matter of fact, he says that if the local cop was not a car guy, he would probably be riding this from jail. I know that feeling. Now, he says the bodywork took another year. Here's a shot of him and his friends putting the body down on yet again, getting the car to look right. But now that it's done, here it is. Take a look. He's got the car that he finally wants. He said he's got 7,500 trouble-free miles on it and ends it with this statement: "This project has been one of the most rewarding things that I've accomplished in my life." That says it all. Matter of fact, hopefully that encourages some of you to get out there, start working on something. Man, it doesn't have to be this nice. It could be something like this. Just get out there, work on it, and build it yourself. Send us some stuff. We'll see if we can get it on the air. All right, I can see we're out of time. Craig's giving me the finger. It's time to get going. We will see you next week. Knock that off.